was footage from ABBA Voyage in London. It's an avatar concert. And by avatars, I mean high-resolution, life-size digital copies of the 4 members of ABBA, performing 20 of our songs together with a 10-piece live band. And to avoid confusion, this is really me standing here now. Not my avatar, he cannot do that yet, but he will, rest assured. This concert takes place in a custom-built arena for 3,000 people, and is full of all kinds of tech and huge screens, and with the help of artificial intelligence, these avatars will soon be able to speak to the audience in real time. AI will soon be as important in our lives as electricity. Music has always evolved hand in hand with technology. How will AI affect it? I will speak more about that later. I don't know if you read any reviews from Voyage or reactions on social media, but one could probably, without exaggerating, say that it's a tremendous success. And when you're lucky enough to get such a hit, you have to admit to yourself, respectfully, that you don't really quite know how to do it. Sure, a lot of hard work and talent, but also a lot of luck. Whatever the reasons are, one thing is for sure. It all began with a song. I'll come back to that. So, how were these avatars created? It all started with so-called motion capture. We 4 in ABBA had to put on a kind of tight leotards that instead of sequins had small plastic balls on them. They made it easier for the cameras and the computers to see our movements. I looked ridiculous, but not quite as ridiculous as I look in one of my early outfits in the 70s. We have dots painted on our faces and helmets on our heads. ILM, which is a tech company owned by Disney, had rented a large studio in Stockholm. And there they had built a stage and set up hundreds of cameras and computers. It looked like NASA's headquarters. And it was a very strange moment when we first saw each other in these outfits, on a stage, performing our songs in exactly the same way we had done in front of TV cameras 14 years ago. For 70-year-olds, life is weird and wonderful. It had not been easy to convince us to do this. Among other things, ILM wanted Benny and me to shave. Otherwise, they couldn't properly register our mouth movements. Both Benny and I flatly refused. No fucking way. I hadn't seen myself without a beard in 40 years, and I wasn't about to change that now. When they persisted, I panicked. I'd have to see that face in the mirror every morning for 5 weeks. In the end, I relented, and I told myself, you're suffering for the sake of art. The 4 of us usually didn't get together privately very often. But now we saw each other 3-4 days a week over a period of 5 weeks. It was like going to work. Good morning, Agneta. How was your weekend? Good. Yours? Then we would change into our work clothes, the leotards, had makeup done, and then back on stage to perform that day's first song. In the old days, I used to run around and jump from podiums in my platform boots, but I chose not to do that this time. The avatars are a product of modern computing power combined with old-fashioned Disney animation. And when the production was in full swing, there were almost 1,000 animators in various places around the globe, working on my eyebrows, Frida's nostrils. You have to get down to such a level of detail if you want to complete the illusion we strive for. One of the first questions that came up when we decided to do this project was, what age should we be? Should we perhaps be our current age? Nothing wrong with that, but who can resist the chance to stay forever young? The avatars ought to be of the age we were when we recorded the songs we would perform. Both Agneta and Frida said, then it must be 79 or 80. Something to do with the hair, I think. Through a casting agency, we found 4 young talented people with similar body types as us. They watched footage from our motion capture together with a choreographer and learned to move in a similar way as ABBA. Then they went through the same process of motion capture that we had done, with leotards, dots on the faces and helmets and all. Everyone knows that as you get older, your body falls apart. But what you may not know is that a fully grown skull actually retains its shape. I took all imaginable measurements between nose and mouth, ear and eye, and we made all the grimaces a human face can manage in front of cameras. And then, with the help of images and videos from the 70s, they were able to recreate our young faces, and these were then integrated with the young bodies, and thus our digital copies from 1979 were born. So, what gave us the courage to embark on this ridiculously expensive and adventurous experiment? Well, I'd have to say it was mainly because of our songs. The fact that our songs have survived and live on. As Paul McCartney said in a generous video greeting to Benny and me when we celebrated our 50th anniversary as songwriters, he said, we wrote those little songs that the whole world listens to. And that's a fact, and it never ceases to amaze me. When I wrote the lyrics for Thank You for the Music, I think it was to express a deep gratitude for the sheer existence of music. Who was I saying thank you to? Well, I don't know, because when you think about it, none of us really knows what music is. And we shouldn't be embarrassed if we find it hard to define. None other than Aristotle said, it's not easy to determine the nature of music or why anyone should have a knowledge of it. So what is music? The dictionary says it's an auditory art comprised of meaningful arrangements of sounds with a relation to pitch, rhythm, and tonality. And of course, at its core, if you think about it, music is indeed a creative and organized arrangement of sounds. But those sounds have a remarkable ability to influence our emotions. It has the power to uplift our spirits, make us feel melancholic, nostalgic, or even ignite a sense of motivation like a national anthem can do. It taps into our subconscious, bypassing the rational mind and speaking directly to our hearts.